All right, so this all started for me with a bad date watching a cheesy movie. This was in 2012. There's this movie called Lord of War. It's about running guns through all these different countries, how the United States and how this one guy played by Nicolas Cage managed to be one of the largest gun traffickers in the entire world. And while I'm watching this movie, my date looks at me and says, "This sounds like how you get parts." And it never really occurred to me that as a nerd, it should not be this difficult to get the parts that we do. In 2018, there was a story in The Information, and it was going over how people were building secret tunnels in Foxconn and Quantum to try and sneak out different pieces of the devices that we work on. So what Apple will do is they'll take a device, let's say they have a board that doesn't work. Oftentimes, they won't refurbish it. That board will actually just ground down for the individual bare metals. And people that thought this was a waste, they would, go into the recycling bin, take it out. They actually made tunnels for it. There was and around 2016 and 2017, you were no longer able to actually get a donor board that was broken. You could only buy pieces of it. So I would buy it and I get like a wing, a breast, a thigh, very small. And I didn't understand why this was. And I finally asked my supplier one day, why is it that I'm only getting a quarter of the motherboard? And they said, well, they started checking people more. So what they do is they put it inside their underwear now and they sneak it out that way. At which point I washed my hands to the point where it looked like Aladdin's from Moses and Red. So I never touched these boards without gloves ever again. This is a very difficult thing to solve because it's getting more and more difficult to actually go through this. They're getting better security, so like around the garbage can, and they are petty enough that in order to avoid us being able to get access to a single chip, they will have security stand by a recycling bin of shit that they're going to grind up and throw away so that we can't get it. Because you can't go to mouser.com or digikey.com to get a chip for any of these things. You're ripping open an iPhone 10R extended battery case to buy the charging chip in there that matches the charging chip inside the phone. So when it comes to any sort of activism or trying to get anything done, the number one rule that I've learned is who is the joke, making sure the right person is the joke. This happens a lot with activists, and it's why many people hate them. It's because when you're trying to get somebody to do something, you can't tell them something like, well, why didn't you get your old one fixed? You realize that's bad for the environment. If you had fixed that, that would have been one more device that would have been able to work. You can't talk down to people. And a lot of the times, instead of motivate people by how something will help them, people try to motivate them by saying why they should do something. Nobody likes being told why they should do something. So in the beginning, I had this three-pronged approach of let's make this entertaining. Let's make it something where if you watch this, instead of spending $2,000, I'll show you how to spend $50. And let's also go over how if you wanted to turn this into a business and to have your own little data recovery boutique shop, you can, because most people don't care about an issue unless it affects them personally. And if that's an easier way for me to get you to care about the thing I care about, then I have no problem going for it. An example of this is probably not the best, but it's just because it's topical in the news recently, the difference between making somebody getting somebody in on the joke versus making somebody the joke with our favorite bean car manufacturer. This is making somebody in on the joke. This is making somebody the joke. Ironically, with the one on the right, if you could tell from the trim on the little pieces for the autopilot sensors that this is actually from 2018. So the person that had that written on their car actually has probably had coal rolled on them at least 20 times by Ford F-250 diesels going by them. And the only thing more annoying than having coal rolled on you 5 times a month is when you're also considered the most evil right-wing piece of person in the world. This doesn't work. What you want to do is you always want to make your adversary the joke, because not only does this avoid you being in the situation where the people you want to agree with you hate you, it also makes it fun. So this is the first one. This is Sarah Faye Pierce. She is an AHAM lobbyist that's appliance something or other, and they are a lobbyist for the let's say your dryer, your washer, your microwave, anybody who's making stuff like that. And this was, let's see if it'll actually play me.
So appearing today on behalf of the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers, Shelter 67 comes into conflict with important industry tenants when gained and you're conducting a repair to a microwave, for example. There's a part that's called a magnetometer, and if it's not replaced properly, it could explode.
One of my fans pointed me to that super microwave. I really like it. So how many people here know what a magnetometer is? Raise your hand if you do. Anybody? Okay, halfway, so I can't say what I was going to. It doesn't exist. It's not a real part. It's called a magnetron.
You magnetron. The first time you did that line, not falling for it.
Yeah, so if you raise your hand, you're an AHAM lobbyist. A magnetron is a magnet. Have you ever seen a magnet explode before? It doesn't. She made that up. It doesn't exist. So I decided to ask during this Senate hearing, I said, what is a magtrometer? Can you tell me? And she just...
Wonder if there's a microphone. Wait.
It doesn't exist. Now, I did not tell anybody to go and harass this person. I didn't say be mean to this person or anything like that. However, when it comes to the internet, the thing that you're supposed to do is you're not supposed to ask for what you want. You're supposed to be wrong and wait for people to correct you. Or in this case, I can't tell you that you should care about my cause because you're never going to care about it, especially if I tell you to. What I can do is I can show you somebody being wrong and then, well, let the problem eventually solve itself. And this is how I get people excited about it. It's not by telling them you should care about this. It's by showing you the sheer amount of stupid stuff that happens behind the scenes so that you're not allowed to get a part to fix your own dryer.
I'm appearing today on behalf of the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers, 67.
Yeah. Joke number 2, Samantha Kursel, TechNet lobbyist for Apple and HP. They represent Samsung and a few others as well. They were lobbying against this right to repair bill in 2020, talking about how this is a problem that doesn't exist. This is an excellent opportunity to make somebody the joke. Come on, little cell phone internet, you can do it.
This legislation isn't.
Like, hey, get to play out of there. Here we go. Yeah, try that.
Search of a problem that does not exist. This is legislation in search of a problem.
And there's 2 main pieces of criticism that I wanted to address while I was here today. The first is that this bill is a solution in search of a problem, that there isn't a problem. This means that rather than paying me to fix the machine or anybody else, your only option is to go to Apple and have this $3,000 or $4,000 device fixed by them for $1,500. Further, when they do that, they erase all of your data, and that's the only option. So when people say that this bill is a solution in search of a problem, I've had thousands of customers that want their data back that disagree.
Legislation isn't.
I have not used Twitter since 2019. I deleted my account before it was cool. I believe this is a case of this you. She said this is a problem that does not exist in 2020. In 2016, as you can see, because this is Facebook, there's a 3 dots, so you can't read the rest of it. But I'm experiencing phone issues. The phone is on, but the screen is blank. I've tried everything. It's time for, and the ... was to figure out how to get my stuff off this phone. If it's a problem that doesn't
Leopard's eating face. That's like laying down, putting your face in the leopard's mouth.
I'm not telling you that you should care about this issue because, again, you're not. Why? But if I make it something entertaining and I could turn it into a little wrestling match of some sort, then it's fun. And here, I'm not lying. This is on your public Twitter. It's very easy to find that you actually had an issue where you needed the data off of your device. And people started to offer her advice on Twitter after this.
Legislation is in search of a problem.
Oh, no. There we go. So remember, this problem does not exist. And somebody offered her a solution. If this right to repair bill is passed, then you can get it fixed. These are I was live streaming, so she was getting she was actually checking her phone and watching all the stuff in real time, which made it really humorous. As you can see, this was a hearing in 2020. She joined in 2022 because she deleted her Twitter for 2 years from people just consistently sending this to her. Again, I am not telling anybody to harass anybody. I'm simply playing your own words and then putting them on screen as you're lying at a Senate hearing. And the internet does what it is. She quit working for TechNet and now lobbies for somebody else. And if you take a look at the LinkedIn, it was actually like a month after that. One of the things that I find is very useful here is, this is something that people were not doing before, is simply attaching somebody's name to what they said. The first one of these hearings that I went to in 2015, I went to my local politician's office in New York. He's like a 79 or 80-year-old state assembly person, and he doesn't really understand technology. And I showed up with a motherboard. I said, when I attach this wire, person gets their data back. When I take it off, it doesn't. Everything used to come with this document inside of it that showed you how everything was connected, and you can't get that in it. If somebody from the company shares it with me, they can get in trouble and actually go to prison for it. So this is something that allows me to hire people who are high school dropouts, give them living wage shortages and give back customers what it is that Apple would never give them, data recovery. They don't offer this as a service. So if you have a phone, you drop it in the toilet, you're something like that, you're at the beach, you lose it. Even if you said, I have $100,000 giving back my stuff because I thought this synced to iCloud and it didn't, the last few stuff, you can't. So this gets people to find it fun. Joke number 3, Kerry Kudolzich. She was the assistant chief counsel at NHTSA, and after this rights repair bill passed in 2020 in Massachusetts, she was asked to testify in court to talk about whether or not this was legal, what the issues would be. She ignored it for 3 years. One day after the judge says that you're allowed at this point to, you're allowed to move forward, automotive manufacturers can follow the bill, she sends a letter to all of them saying that this is unsafe and this will give you access to vehicle telematics and it's very bad for security and that you should ignore it. And again, this is, there's quite a bit that she wrote here in this opinion. The serious safety risk posed by this law, blah, 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 blah. Kerry E. Kudolzich. It takes very little effort to take a look on her LinkedIn and see she spent 6 years working at Meyer Brown, which was the law firm that was against the bill. And it spent several $1 million lobbying against that particular bill. And again, I'm not here to tell you what to think or what to do. However, after pointing this out, within 3 days, she changed her mind and said, never mind, you can listen to that bill. Pointing out that she spent 6 years working for the very firm lobbying against this bill, while she is the regulator in charge of choosing whether or not this bill is listened to, after 2 years of ignoring it in court, has a way of making problems work themselves out. You always want to make sure that your adversary is the joke, not the people that you are trying to convince to your cause. And frankly, it's just entertaining. Understanding your audience is the next one. So we're going to talk about the chair of the committee of the next place that I spoke at that year. So you always want to understand the person you're talking to. It doesn't work if I just try to convince you of something and I'm trying to tell you why you should care. I should understand who you are first so that I can explain something to you that is actually going to be according to what you're interested in. A lot of salespeople try this thing with hard sales. It's here's why you should care about this. So look at all these different features, but you may not care about any of those things. It's my job to figure out what those are. The second is that you should never accept the premise of assholes. You should always examine whether your adversary lives up to the standard that they are holding you to. And if they don't, take that sword that they're pointing at you and shove it up their ass. We're going to show you this in the video coming up. So the first one is understanding your audience. Let's go over that. So the chair of this committee, Paul Feeney, on Facebook, there's a very quick Google search. The first thing is I saw that he was talking about this television show 24. I know a lot of people that care about civil liberties may not like the fact that this show came out that made you... I rooted for civil liberties to get destroyed in the show. You would have the guy from the ACLU walk in, and he's like, you're not allowed to catch a terrorist. And Jack Bauer would come and just smash him in the back of the head with a hammer. And then some kid would wind up getting saved. It was a very good show during that started right around the time of the Iraq War that was really designed to get you to just root for the Patriot Act. But he loves this particular program, and he watches it on a regular basis. I also saw that one of the profile pics was a bald eagle. And in the recent years, that tends to mean, like patriotism, freedom, blah, blah, blah. So after understanding this, here's the testimony that I wound up giving. It was something that was tailored to these particular individuals. And the concept of not accepting the premise of assholes is something that you have to do on the fly. So you have to be listening to what people are saying and really trying to find places where you can use this. So this is with a lobbyist named Christina Fisher. She worked for TechNet, and similar to Samantha Kersel that I went over before, very shortly after this video, she quit and went to work somewhere else.
We're here in opposition to the rent to repair bills. But the reality is that some of the people that you're hearing from today greatly seek to profit off of this legislation. This legislation has been filed in over 21 states, and no state has passed this legislation, and that's for a reason.
Before I get started, I think it's important to address a point that Mrs. Fisher just brought up, which is that there are many people that are seeking to profit from this legislation. And I agree that it's an important point. I think it's important to look at who paid to be here today versus who is being paid to be here today. Now you have to see how it is today, where if you have a MacBook Air and the SMC chip that reads your battery and can tell when your battery percentages dies, I can't replace that chip easily because it has firmware on it. If I try to read that firmware, the chip will stop working. It's very similar to this TV show called 24, where Jack Bauer would interrogate. He just woke up. And if the terrorist would take a cyanide pill and go, you're never going to find out. The chip does that. It erases itself. And the last excuse that I heard was, this has been denied in every state. Why Boston? Why Massachusetts? Wouldn't that have been a great attitude to have 250 years ago? That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from the members?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. Although I think Chloe would have been able to help Jack Bauer figure anything out.
That didn't win that year, but he did put it up for a vote for the first time in 4 years and stop ignoring it. It's trying to figure out what makes somebody tick, what buttons can I push, and making it according to them rather than me. It shouldn't be about me. It has to be about them. And again, not accepting the premise of assholes. That woman made over $300,000 a year to lie to people, and she's telling me after I spend $500 of my own money to travel there that I profit off this? Fuck you. No, that's not how this works. You always want to make sure that your adversary is the joke, not you. The audience has to be in on the joke, but they can't be the joke.
We're here in opposition.
Okay. Now, this is the saying that right to repair is based on. If you can't fix it, you don't own it. And in recent years, what I've noticed is that with a lot of the theme of what I've been talking about, is it really just kind of has turned into, well, you don't own it. Let's give some examples of this. So this is the definition of the word ownership in the dictionary. To acquire in exchange for payments in money or an equivalent. To buy. The action of obtaining something in exchange for payment in money or an equivalent. Buying, now the equivalent sense. This has been defined since 1325. Let's read Sony's definition of this. Sony, on their website in December 2023, I think it was PlayStation Network, where you can buy, the word is used purchase, different television shows, different movies, not stream, not rent. It uses the word purchase in large letters. And they wrote this. As of December 31st, 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. We sincerely thank you for your continued support. Thank you, PlayStation Store. No refund, no credit, just like you. Now, if we read through their end user license agreement and you read through it, I tried to shrink the font enough that it would show up on screen, but it doesn't because this projector only works at 1024 by 720. This is a very, very small portion of the items that they removed from people's libraries. Now let's take a look at their terms. Use of the terms own, ownership, purchase, sale, sold, sell, rent, or buy in this agreement or in connection with PSN content does not mean or imply any transfer of ownership of any content, data, or software, or any intellectual property rights from SIA. Now, if they were saying that, what is the word? If they were saying authorship, that would make sense. I cannot say that I made this. They put the word own in quotes, ownership. Purchase. They're trying to redefine a word that has meant something from the fucking 14th century on page 27 out of 34 of any end user license agreement when you go to purchase a movie.
Well, it's a symbolic link. They're just pointing it to rent now.
Here's another word that used to mean something. Lifetime. Okay. No spoilers. Lifetime. 14th century. The duration of a person's or animal's life. The period of time over which a person's life extends. Frequently in, I can't read that, I went to New York City Public School. Phrase and during. Next. This is a vital source textbook. I'm old enough to be missing a good portion of my hair and also to have bought my college textbooks as books, but now many courses make you buy them online. There's no paper version of it. So you can pay
$109.
62. Okay, you can read that. You're better than me. $62 for half a year. You can pay about $84 for a year, or the lifetime license, which thank God I did this. I was anticipating this projected, please. $109 if you want the lifetime license. Now, what do you think lifetime means in this case? If you had to guess, how long is lifetime?
4 years.
We're close.
Whenever they feel like some random number changes.
Correct. That is actually written into the terms of service. When you take a look, products labeled as, I am so glad I anticipated this projected. Products labeled as lifetime typically mean 5 years of online access and permanent downloads to a supported device. Typically. And the reason this came up is because somebody's textbook went bad after 4 months after they paid for a lifetime license. Not 5 years, because it's not insulting enough that you took something that's supposed to mean lifetime and you turned it to 5 years. Typically, which gives them an out. They say, well, typically this, but not really. When purchasing a digital product, you can download it for use on a supported device, the two most recent versions of an operating system. So permanent downloads for the two most recent versions. Downloads will function so long as VitalSource supports the device. This means that if a device or operating system loses compatibility with VitalSource products due to updates or obsolescence, your download product may no longer work as intended. So typically 5 years. Even if they do decide to give you 5 years, that is then, well, you have to have their particular product, their version, or obsolescence with no actual definition
I
for
don't
what that word means.
know creative writer to use permanent the way they're using that word.
The reason that they have to write this is because there was a law that was passed in California that says if you use the word lifetime and you don't mean the word lifetime, you're breaking the law. So and unfortunately, with how poorly this is enforced, you have to click a link all the way on the bottom of the page. It's like somewhere, okay, this over here. Digital product disclosure. That's what it says. Digital product disclosure. That doesn't say that lifetime means something else. You have to actually know to click on that in order to see that. And sadly, this apparently is legal. You have to click on another link, and then you can see that lifetime doesn't mean lifetime, but it ain't even on the product page. Another example. This person paid for a lifetime license on a media player. This is a music player. It has ads in it. If you pay, you get rid of the ads, and then 2 months later, ads in the media player. If you pay us every month, though, we promise we're not going to put ads back in. Books. From Amazon. So this is the crazy part, because there are authors that are not releasing paper copies of their books. They're releasing it on Amazon because that's the largest platform where people are going to be buying. But starting February 26, 2025, the download and transfer via USB option will no longer be available. You can still send Kindle books to your Wi-Fi enabled devices by selecting deliver or remove from device option, which means that it's going to connect to the cloud every single time you want to load one of your books, even if you downloaded it. It's like with YouTube. If you use the YouTube Premium app and you hit download, after 30 days, it's like if the content creator has deleted their video, it's not going to show up on your phone, which means that they have the ability to remotely edit books that you're reading. And you may think, when's that going to happen? Here. So there was a book from Roald Dahl. They replaced fat with enormous. They replaced Cloudmen and James and the Giant Peach with Cloud People. He used to go on a diet, was removed. Like a lot of different changes. And the point here is that when I decided to look at the list of changes, it was 53 pages in my browser, and that's not on 1024 by 728. Let's see. $400 baby monitor. So this is a baby monitor that is supposed to be able to give you an idea of how your child is breathing, to figure out if your child is stressed, maybe if the room quality is not very good. It's also supposed to give an idea of pulse and things like that without actually having to be a mask or something that's over the kid's face, which may make it worth $400 instead of the $20 walkie-talkie thing you get for most normal baby monitors. You get sleep tracking, analytics, environment sensors, all this kind of stuff. It's a smart baby monitor. And this live breathing and sleep tracking are available with the Miku membership. If you've paid $400 for a product that has these features, and now you have to pay an additional $5 or $10 or $20 a month, this is the problem with most modern stuff, is that it's cloud connected, which means that when this company got purchased by somebody else, they said, yeah, about that lifetime thing, never mind. And it went away. One of my favorites is a Roku television update. We've made an important update. Do you notice a word that's missing over here? There's a word under this. Like, everybody is forced to stay in this room tonight. Agree? Fucking agree?
Remind me later.
We've updated our dispute resolution terms. Select agree to agree to these updated terms and to continue enjoying our products and services. Press star to view these updated terms. Now, how do I go down to change my HDMI port or watch something that I want to watch on my television or play a game? You agree? Agreed? Agreed. Now, why do you think they did this? You gotta guess.
Because it's not illegal.
Close.
Oh, God.
Any guesses? Any guesses? Why would they send this out to every television? Yeah, data breach. This happened. This is the Office of the Maine Attorney General. This was a data breach affecting. It's 5 digits. I can't read.
It's like 15,000 people, roughly.
Bro, what glasses are you using?
Outdated ones, honestly.
15,000.
My data breaches.
Maybe 19 or 18.
Dear Roku user, we take our viewers' privacy and security very seriously. And as part of our commitment to those values and protecting your information, we are writing to notify you about a recent event that may have affected your Roku account. This letter describes the event, our response, and resources available to you to help protect your account information. What happened? Suspicious activity, so on and so forth, and a bunch of people's private data got leaked. You should freeze your credit over this. They give you all the instructions on how to freeze your credit because they screwed up that bad. So your TV was held hostage unless you hit agree. Another one. So this is a Rivian. They make a popular electric truck. And I found this recently very interesting. Large plus pack unlocking next. Yes, that is next on the roadmap. So if you buy the truck, you are given this much lithium-ion battery. You're able to use this much lithium-ion battery. But if you pay us, you'll get to use the entire thing. Now, the argument here is that they're giving, well, that makes it cheaper to manufacture. And the biggest argument I've heard in favor of stuff like this, well, you did not pay for that battery. So one of the counter arguments that I have to this, what do you think would happen if you walked into Rivian or Tesla and you walked right up to Elon and said, may I have 500 pounds of rare earth minerals for free? Can you also throw in a PMS with that? And I want to make sure that you give me the Samsung 35E cell. It's not that cheap shit. What do you think they're going to say? His receptionist is going to be hitting a little red button under his desk called security before he could finish the sentence. Because multi-billion and trillion-dollar companies do not give people 500 pounds of rare earth resources for free. Why does it continue to get worse? Ego boost. Instead of saying, that company screwed me, it's very easy to say, well, I mean, listen, you should have done your research. I look things up before I buy my phone or car. What are you, an idiot? People like getting this little quick dopamine boost from feeling like I made the right decision. I bought the right thing. I chose the right bank. I chose the right textbook. If you had thought and done things just like me, then maybe things would have gone better. And you can see this on website forums, YouTube comments, and even I hear some of this in the real world. Not in the same incredibly condescending way, but that's why I got this thing. You should consider this thing. Instead of, that kind of sucks. I'm sorry that happened to you. And actually pushing back against the person that did. And also lack of awareness. For the last 20 years, there's one person that's actually talked about this, Cory Doctorow, and in 2004, 8, 12, most people just said, you're crazy. When is this ever going to become a problem? Some examples of it. So iPhone owners say the latest iOS update is resurfacing deleted news. And you'll hear, you idiot, why'd you buy an Apple? Android gives you free. Samsung deleted old ads where they were mocking Apple removing the headphone jack. Whoops. Cadillac Lyric owner has been waiting 9 months for a bumper replacement. Video. Why would you buy an electric car, you moron? Don't you know that they're hard to repair? F-150. Repair costs are out of control. $5,600 for some tail lamps, because those tail lamps have some sensors on them for the rear camera to be able to beep at you when something's happening. Also, they have the LED tail lights. They have these assemblies for them where it comes with the LED driver and everything else rather than just the bulb or the individual LED strip. So you wind up paying over $5,000 because some water got into your tail light. Jesus. Everybody laughs when it happens to somebody else. They stop laughing when it happens to them.
It's not happening to avoid. These companies with millions of dollars are kind of directing people to blame each other. They have that sort of push. It's not us just like, oh, you're dumb. It's, something in your ear from a multi-billion-dollar company kind of convincing you to blame yourself and blame other people.
I think people should, think a little before you use it as an excuse to make fun of somebody else. I like that people don't trust these companies the same way that they used to. Like when I started, people would say, like people who came to my store would say, if Apple said if somebody says they could fix a board, that they were scamming or lying. And then 10 or 15 years later, the idea that the Genius Bar knows what they're doing has become a meme. But I want to see this I want to see that kind of trust in these companies get eroded over time.
Blame someone else for not knowing that. You have to think that a marketing company gave a lot of people to phrase this in the most confusing possible way. And what she ended with that individual, they just read the contract. The person that was people's entire job to make it confusing.
Yeah, this is why I don't like when people punch down and say, you're an idiot for buying this product, instead of saying, oh, wow, you got screwed. Yeah, screw Ford or screw Cadillac for doing that to you.
There's also certain products like which you literally, if you're smart, can't buy your way out of the problem. There is no modern car that it's not spy on you. There is no brand you can buy that it's not spy on you. And while the Linux Foundation is working on a version of Linux for car and firmware, that's like 5 years away.
It is almost impossible. How many people here have been to a public bathroom where you see a beautiful soap dispenser and then you see some like soft soap thing that they bought right next door in front of you that's filled with water? I mean, this is because I didn't even learn this until a few weeks ago, but apparently the bags that they have in these soap dispensers have planned out. Every single time they come up with a new one, they stop selling the bag to the old one. There's not a lot of, and the amount of research that you would have to do to never get screwed by any of these things, it would mean that you would not be able to live a normal life. Ooh, this is a fun one. Okay, so one of my favorites here. So before that right to repair bill passed in Massachusetts, that Kerry Kadolji was saying none of the auto manufacturers should follow because if you do, your car is going to get hacked. All these horrible things are going to happen. This commercial was airing all throughout Massachusetts. The major automakers, Toyota, Honda, General Motors, Ford, and one other that I forget that I remember later, spent $25 million combined for this to play nonstop during this ballot initiative. Let's see. There you go. Ready to be scared? All right. Freaking music.
If question 1 passes in Massachusetts, anyone could access the most personal data stored in your vehicle. Domestic violence advocates say a sexual predator could use the data to stalk their victims, pinpoint exactly where you are, whether you are alone, even take control of your vehicle. Vote no on 1. Keep your data safe.
Well, thank God they can't do that with any other things like smart thermostats and stalkerware apps and.
This goes back to the whole idea of accepting the premise of assholes. So that is the standard you are holding independent repair people to, or independent mechanics, that we're going to steal your data and use it to stalk you. Well, let's see what they do. This is part of a 54 or 58 page document from the Attorney General in Texas. The FTC has looked into this as well, and they are suing General Motors as well as several other major automakers for tens of billions of dollars because from 2015 to mid-2024, they were using the information about how you drive. They were collecting that information. They were selling it to LexisNexis, and then LexisNexis would sell it to insurance companies. There was a large story in the New York Times that broke several months after the FTC started looking into this, where this guy buys a Chevy Bolt. Right after he gets it, he has to accelerate very quickly because somebody behind was doing something stupid, and he gets his insurance hiked by about $200. And they said they're not very good at figuring out if you're a good driver from the computer yet. For instance, when Tesla full self-driving first came out, anytime you hit the brake, that was considered hard braking. You had to use the regenerative braking of the car. So it almost turned driving into a video game because back then, in order to get into Tesla's full self-driving program, you needed to have no marks on your record. You needed a 100 out of 100 score. If you hit the brake, bad score. So what does that mean? Oh crap, that car in front, oh my God, is the regenerative braking going to get there in time? It became a video game in almost a sense of gambling because these systems are so bad that you would have to go out of your way to drive horribly to conform to those systems. Most people don't do that. If the person in front of me is drunk and he's kind of doing this, I'm going to slow down a little bit, which means tapping my brakes. And the system would see that as hard braking. There was an entire web of this, and none of this was disclosed to the customer. So General Motors, as well as many other major automakers, were selling cars that were consistently spying on you and tracking every single one of your movements, when you made a sharp turn, where you made the sharp turn. If people were driving at night and knew that, and this information would be used to raise people's insurance rates. General Motors generated billions upon billions of dollars from LexisNexis, who then generated billions of dollars from Geico and every major insurance company. And you're telling me that we're the ones who are going to stalk people by fixing their car. So, in conclusion, I find the activism that works is trying to get people personally invested. Here's how you can push back against people that want to control everything in your life. Here's how you can save money doing this. Here's how you can have fun doing this. And above all, let's make all these people the joke. Because when you do, you move things forward, and admittedly, it just keeps everything much more fun. That's about it.
Entertaining and not too long talk. Some of our speakers don't understand that. Some questions for us. I will love to kick it off.
I tried to keep it concise. I didn't just write that in my car.
Yeah, no. It's almost like you made a lot of videos and talked to a lot of people or something. So yeah, it was. I'm going to tee you up, and you can choose to talk about it as much or not as you want. What are you working on now as far as right to repair?
Right now, the right to repair is kind of under this whole idea of right to own, which is you should be able to do what you want with what you bought and paid for. So if somebody disables that baby monitor, I should be able to find somebody who can hack into that baby monitor so I can still use what I bought and paid for. And there's a law called Section 1201 of the DMCA that says if you break a digital lock, you can go to prison for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, so that thing I alluded to.
Yeah, so my next project is going to be trying to revoke that entirely. It's like a 4 to 6 year project.
Well, I wish you luck, and certainly anybody in the room who would like to collaborate with us, someone should probably talk to, because, you know, there's going to be a lot of powerful people who won't like what he's trying to do there. Politics going to hate him very soon.
Some powerful people that want to see me win.
Yeah, that too.
The problem is the underlying problem. No matter how secure you want to be, if the data exists and is collected, it can be, there's a way. So like ultimately, like your car's collecting the data, it's there. Your smart device. The only way to really reduce this is to, you know, just say no to having every device alone in the cloud, or big people, like he made the point earlier, there's no disagree button. It's getting to a point where people physically cannot buy new up-to-date objects that do not include this data collection element, and the only way to change that is a mass push by consumers to not have every single option be collecting data, and that would take so much more, or it would take, you know, the right to repair community, like going full Luddite and being like, we're gonna repair all this old stuff. It's just otherwise, if every device on the market is collecting data, I don't know what you're doing with the data. It's just, and we can
I mean, your broad point is well taken. Correct. This is a point I kept trying to get our city council to understand with the automated license carriers, where I was just like, it doesn't matter ultimately at the end of the day how secure you try to secure this data you're collecting. It exists. Once it exists, it is a risk. It is like toxic sewage.
Yeah.
You don't want the risk. You can't collect it in the first place.
I like that terminology, though, that people that,
Yeah, we're coached. Most of them know. Even though I literally pointed out that the UK's ALP articles have been passed in 2021, and all, like 20 million drivers full driving have sold in the dark mode. These are not hypothetical risks. They didn't care. Well, most of the council did not care. A few of them cared.
anything with voice, you know, but the DNA leak for people are like, hey, I want to know what percentage of everything I am. And I'm like, well, no, that data's online. You can't change it. Congratulations, you're snitching on your cousin. Well, no, privacy and investigation line, it's connected to you. If the data exists and is an immovable part of your physical existence, then like, we love that.
We should do what the pet peeve talk on the push to have everything be biometrics. So, oh, yes, that's a great security thing.
Yeah, let's use immutable characteristics and like.
Isn't that smart question for this? Yeah.
So I'm concerned about where to go after anti-circumvention, because I work in the engineer space, and anti-circumvention, first off, is it puts a lot more otherwise lawful work in the legal gray area, one more like reverse engineering. But after that, on the civil side of the docket, you have what happens if companies decide to change their strategy and follow, say, Nintendo with a strongly worded letter to an open source project alleging copyright infringement of what you find behind that digital law is enough to ban the project indefinitely.
Are you saying a case where they claim that either their code or their intellectual property is their code is copyrighted, or?
In that case, it was a private key for photography.
Haier tried to do that with air conditioners. They were claiming they tried to use a DMCA takedown because they found the open key to their API. That their API was similar to the United States nuclear codes between 1963 to 1978. Anybody remember what those are?
I didn't know those would ever been released.
Oh, it's a bunch of zeros in an order.
Oh.
Yeah, for like 15 years, the U.S. nuclear codes were literally just a bunch of zeros because they thought,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
for readiness purposes.
Well, that won't be a problem. It's not like they one time dropped a nuke on North Carolina and never found it. That happened
One time?
I don't know enough to know if they would try to use copyright for that or if they would say that usually those arguments, at least in schematics, those arguments lose. So there are people that have tried to do this BS where they would draw like a person or like some funny cartoon inside the schematic so that it could be considered a creative work rather than just a diagram. So the court is just giving a big middle finger to that in many cases. But yeah, I would want an exemption to 1201 for everything, or just like not there, like not the small things where it's excluded for this type of repair and it's excluded for 1 year here. It's just, in my opinion, it should just be gone. It shouldn't exist. And I know that's not going to solve the problem that she was talking about, where your car is collecting everything from you. But Aaron and I know people that we know somebody that spends 12 hours a day trying to figure out a way to make a programming language that runs on the computer with no operating system, no kernel, no Clang, no nothing. There are people out there that will spend 16 hours a day fucking with this just because they want to. And we need to have an environment where the person that wants to create a little USB you plug into your car computer that just turns all this shit off can do that without spending 3 to 5 years in federal prison.
Now I want to hear the talk about how somebody's trying to make a programming language run entirely off Grow with the BIOS. That's horrible.
Is what programming they did.
That's fun, kind of thing. That's the first question.
Say that again?
Well, I guess it sounds like there needs to be more legal defense ones for people in this space.
Something like that.
I mean, there's a serious underfunding in the privacy and open source space in general, for sure.
Yeah, I wonder.
I mean, even before certain political changes, like I use Cubes as my daily operating system. That thing runs on 10 grand a year. And there's like 6 developers making one of the most secure operating systems on the planet. I don't understand how clearly they must have other jobs, but like, yeah, it's astounding. There was a phone, Divest OS. He stopped development recently, but one year he asked for like something similar, like 15 grand in donations. And that's all he needed to fund himself for a whole year. Like, I think he lives somewhere in Europe.
And yeah, open source burnout has been a chronic problem, especially in all of big tech depends on it. And they literally pay these overworked devs working for free minutes. Like, it was actually a good topic of discussion a few years ago to OpenJS World, the Linux Foundation was hosting. And they're well aware of the funding is an issue because who actually also is the main source of funding for the Linux Foundation? Microsoft. You ultimately find where the money comes from. It might be through 5 intermediaries, but a lot of it does come from big tech sources. Even our heroes, EFF, a lot of their donations are either big tech adjacent or they're employees who work for big tech. Like, even those of us trying to be ethical in this space, the money comes from unethical sources. I don't pretend to have a magic solution.
That's what we were talking about earlier, the human element that people forget. Because some really like working for that company, but there are sometimes individuals in the company who do care. So some of it, like the paranoid conspiracy theory, where's the money come from? And sometimes individuals in those organizations are people who are reasonable if you're, communicating in like a kind or effective or thoughtful or empathetic way.
Nobody wants to live for bed. So most people don't go to work wanting to think they're making the rules. Most of us. But people at the top might be another story. But some more questions for you. I'll keep asking questions. I just don't want to hold the spotlight.
Well, you had this last point at the end. You made an eloquent argument against them, but was there like a soundbite of it that you made that?
Which?
Was there like a soundbite version of this argument at the end of this?
No.
Like where you're talking about how these dark companies are already following around and collecting data in contrast with the ad that's saying, stalkers are going to use it to follow you.
It was a stronger argument against. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what irritates me about that argument of like, oh, what if some bad third-party person repairing your phone abuses the data? Just Google the term rogue employee. It's already happened from these companies. For some reason, people are okay when it's a faceless company. Never mind the fact that thousands of people have access to that data. There was another story recently that you might remember where it was the same thing. The guy bought his mom a car, and like a year later, for whatever reason, ended up requesting the data, and it had everything she had done in that car for the last year. And when he asked him basic questions like, how many employees have access to this? There are so many stories. eBay is a really salient one where somebody left like a bad review, and the CEO, or not CEOs, but C-suite people were like harassing these people, sending them malicious literal physical packages in the mail, death threats, because they just said bad things about the company. This is not a hypothetical situation where, oh no, what if somebody abuses that data? They're already doing it.
Yeah, and even ignoring that it trivializes the very real problem of stalker as a whole disgusting industry that
that's a separate
these
thing.
same people won't outlaw, by the way. But furthermore, not just companies. One of the big things the Stoke revelations revealed is NSA employees were chronically stalking their ex-girlfriends using their surveillance.
NYPD as well.
With regards to the soundbite element of this, I didn't point out the General Motors was wrong with this initially. When it came to that right to repair law, I decided to focus on the individual. So if you're by yourself, like if you win, great. If you lose, it's all on you. Whereas when you have friends, the amount of that loss is kind of like divided amongst the people that you're working with. So for me to just point out General Motors or a governmental organization, it's not as effective as pointing out that the head of NHTSA, the main legal regulator in the country for all of this, had worked at the law firm that was opposing all of this for 6 years prior to working here. Because focusing on GM or an org, it's getting divided. Focusing on you as an individual, it's more fun. But also, it's easier to get something done. And it's easier to get a turnaround in less than 1 or 2 months when I can put all that pressure on an individual who has the ability to make that decision rather than a company. Because if I put it on a company or an organization, that's going to be divided amongst the PR team of that company and everything else.
Well, it's why they ultimately want corporations to be people, because there's not an actual real person having to face the consequences of what they're doing. They can hide behind this legal fiction and, oh, well, it's not the general counsel of General Motors doing this. No, it's General Motors, which isn't even a real thing.
Especially with the build quality of their cars.
And I guess I'll give you a fun one, which is, obviously we who believe in right to repair and believe in these arguments, we feel very strongly we're right about it. So I also want 1201 to the MCA to be gotten rid of. It doesn't harm me good. But I know there are people, good faith, smart people, who actually think that, yes, while that law has flaws, that it genuinely helps people, helps creators. I disagree with this. I think it helps large multinational corporations. But I guess I would sort of say, would you have something to clearly, some people think these laws are stopping real harms that I've been trying to grant their argument. What do you think are maybe better ways we could deal with some of the harms that laws like the BFC are purporting to try to help with, as opposed to, pinky swear, you can't keep inside this thing, we aren't doing anything horrible, of course.
I think that that's the offensive end, which is I should be able to hack into my car in order to turn all the stuff off. 0.1% of the population will ever have the ability to do that. And even if they do make that tool public and say, here's exactly how to use it, it'll get about the same market share as Linux, because when I want to use a projector, it takes me minutes to figure out the resolution it works at. As enough people have to get aggravated at it that there is a societal shame that occurs from doing this. Like 2 or 3 lobbyists quitting after I point out something basic, that's societal shaming. That's people saying, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So it has to be something where if you're one of the people who programmed that baby monitor in that way, that that you don't want to go outside anymore. It can't just seriously, it can't be something where you have to rely on a genius programmer or a hacker to get around it. As much as I want the freedom to be able to do that, that's important. But enough people have to understand that it's an issue to actually have it be something where when somebody takes part in this, there's some sort of shame in it, they know.
Right, and I probably agree with you, right. It's not a right if you literally have to spend 20 years becoming a tech genius to actually have a right. We all enjoy this stuff in this room, but there was some bill at the ledge that I was giving feedback on, and it wanted to do something that I thought was good. It was going to give citizens more transparency into things that the state government was generating. But one even piece of feedback I gave them is, well, if you have this portal, it's got to be easy for the ordinary public to use. They just got to have a file order, asking them to check a GPG key. No, most people don't even know what that is. That's not a solution. So you got to be very clear this works for everyone, not just the tech nerds.
Yeah.
Another question on resolution drivings.
Other than all.
What is this in DOS? It's asterisk dot asterisk. Every company has done something. Almost all of them have done something at some point. I tried to. Yeah, it's at the point where if I wanted to, the free market solution for me would be to become a Luddite. I have no solution. I try to, if nothing is even remotely good, I'll try to buy it used, just so at least I don't have the feeling that I gave you money for something like this. But
Louis, has brother indeed turned to the dark side, or did you talk to them and they back door?
I'm waiting for them to email. They actually contacted engineers, and I asked them. I said, okay, for every single one of these individual instances, can you explain each one to me? They were very nice. It's just, I just want the information.
For those out of the loop, Brother was the last printer brand not engaged in DRM bullshit, and they seem to have maybe started doing that.
I'm going to assume just like maybe it was an error, or maybe when you made this firmware, you didn't think of this, that, or the other. But I sent an email like asking all these different questions, and they said they get back to me.
Sometimes it's just communication, like the type of people who be good at communication. The fact is, Brother follows the money. You know, once they notice that there's a real meaningful market that wants those connected printers, it's like kind of like how Fender really targets the left-handed because it's an underserved, weird little demographic, and they make a lot of money doing that. By communicating like that with Brother printers, you're letting them know there's actually an untapped market of people who, you know, want to actually own their devices. So really, you're just giving them free marketing advice about a potential market that they're actually have to think about their selfishness and their goals. Like, hey, company, you're losing your competitive advantage. We are your audience. It's money. You feel busy. Just like, if you like money, we will keep making it. Keep making your printers go with them.
Yeah, getting people understanding what their concern is rather than trying to sell them.
And to your point, part of our activism is literally getting more people to care because it makes a big enough market who these issues are a deal breaker for them. They aren't just going to go, oh, I can make more money by screwing people because they'll lose more money if they chase off all the nice and care. Well, they have to guarantee they're going to stay good. We have to go in free press so they go back to we've all run for a long time.
I'm different in that regard. I'll take anybody's money to lobby against them. There's this employee matching program at some companies, and I've gotten checks for $3,000 from John Deere. I don't throw that away.
Well, I mean, that even, you know, gets sometimes to the argument I've given people where like people are like, oh, I'm not going to vote for this because it means I'm endorsing everything that platform or that candidate is. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not bound at all. Like, it's just a vote. I didn't actually give away any of my autonomy or rights. It doesn't mean I now morally endorse everything they do. I voted for that because I thought it was the best choice I had. I didn't sign on to it that I agreed to anything else. So, yeah, you know, I think actually Corey has a very, he gave a talk a few years ago at UT, and it was kind of on this question about like, you know, how pure you need to be in your activism. When are you a hypocrite and when you're not? And I think he put it very well, where he was sort of like, okay, fine. You want to take the ethical stand and like that you're not going to buy stuff from Amazon. You think they're a bad company. But if by you not willing to buy anything from Amazon means that you're not in time able to get the supplies you need to go do your protest at the Amazon warehouse, they've already won, basically. So, you know, you don't want to be a hypocrite, you want to stand by your values, but don't be stupid about it either, basically. Don't, you know, shoot yourself in the foot unnecessarily.
I mean, even for this, I wanted to play those videos within it, and OnlyOffice doesn't play videos inside of it, and like a OpenOffice doesn't, and LibreOffice doesn't. This is Google. I feel dirty doing it, but I also wanted to be able to have a video for the presentation, and so it's always like balancing things there.
Well,
having purity tests.
It's sort of like when you're trying to do video chatting. It's like, yeah, there are things like Jitsi, but they tend not to scale if you have like 1,000 people the way a Zoom game or something. So yeah.
If there's 1,000 people in a meeting, that's
well, a lot of meetings do break down.
Mild exaggeration.
Let's see, you know, and as I say, we have the room till 9, but also if people already have questions, we can always, of course, refer to the call early. But if anybody have more questions, share with us. Otherwise, as I said, if you want to learn more about these topics, man, really, I'm not kidding, has several thousand videos on his YouTube channel, and he'll, you know, and you're not just
don't watch YouTube to rot your brain.
Yeah, how to repair a board, you know, got hundreds of videos on that.
Don't watch YouTube, it'll rot your brain.
Well, it's not appear too strong.
That will end in our ways.
Not. But, you know, I guess just what I'll say is thank you all for coming and thank you all for caring about these issues. And really, you know, I think is one of the things that came out here is just, yeah, a lot of this is about shifting culture on this topic. You know, you got to get people to understand why this isn't just some nerd issue. This fundamentally comes down to the idea of who knows best how a technological product can serve. It's you. So at the end of the day, it's about trying to empower yourself and your community. And yeah, and to that end, Turns out there's this thing called the Legend Session right now, considering a lot of candidates. If you want to learn more about some of the things they're talking about, I encourage you to reach out to us and get involved because they have some good ideas and some not good ideas. Oh, got one more question.
Hi, I'm on the board of EFF-Austin, and I just want y'all to know that we do take donations,
She's our treasurer.
volunteer efforts to do this, and we actually have a functioning donation link on our website now, which unfortunately has to go through like in the donor box, but we don't take a whole lot of info. So we did do a South-by event this past year, and if you want to know, we're going to be doing more physical in-person events over the next time period that we're living through right now, whatever hyperloop this is. So please look at the website, EFFaustin.org, and it's like literally right there on the left with a picture of Mr. Rossman right there in the front. So,
No, it's true if you go because he's our current event.
current event. So please, if you can, like everything helps because we're completely volunteer driven. And I personally paid for the last EFF party because I have a day job and 3 other jobs.
Yeah, we all lose money on this, so every little bit you're gonna give us all.
But even being here is just really great. So I just wanted to.
Oh, and actually, to that end, I should also add that thanks to Heather's excellent work trying to modernize her finances, we're on Venmo. So if you want to pay us, literally just find it. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
Check your settings on Venmo. Your transactions are public by
Oh,
default.
yes, Venmo is a privacy nightmare. Turn everything to private, not acceptable.
We can't take cash and put it directly in our bank account too, by the way. With the receipts.
We don't yet take Monero, but we're working on it. So you have to give us old fashioned anonymous cash for the time being.
Bitcoin may be on the way as well. So anyway, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Heather.